Hare Krishna, good morning dear devotees from Sri Jagannath Puri Dham. My name is Madhavananda Das, and this is our 65th session. We're calling Meeting in Kurukshetra, and today we have a very extraordinary discussion. Our talks about the divine madness of the gopis of Vrindavan, and today we want to speak something about Radharani's mad desire to end her life. A very, very esoteric, very difficult topic to understand, but actually an important subject, and a relevant topic, believe it or not, for many devotees. So we'll just say a few prayers to begin. Gora Graganya Gana Gocha Goloruharam Goranga Gudatama Gopyata Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Shavanarotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamujirayat Vedi Ramayane Shaiva Purane Bharate Tata Adhavante Chamadye Chahari Sarvatra Giyate Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Paramananda He Madhava Padunga Luchi Makaranda Se Makaranda Panakori Anande Bolo Hari Hari Harinka Name Vandavela Parikorive Chakadola Se Chakadolanka Padaye Manamo Rahu Nirantare Manamo Nirantare Rahu Ha Krishna Boli Jiva Jao Ha Krishna Boli Jao Jiva Moteu Dada Radha Dava Moteu Dada Radha Dava Moteu Dada Radha Dava Dharma Projita Kaitavo Tapadamone Matsranam Satam Vedyam Vastava Matta Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayam Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamune Krite Kimba Parayishvara Sadyo Hridyavarudhyate Chakriti Shushu Shubhistakshanat Nigama Pataro Galitam Phalam Shukamukadamita Dravasam Yutam Pibata Bhagavatam Asamalayam Mohora Sika Bhuvi Bhavuka Anarto Pasamam Sakshad Bhakti Yogam Adhoksaje Lokasya Janato Vidvams Chakre Satvata Samhitam Yasham Vaishyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktirudpadyate Pumsha Shokamoha Bhayapaha Srimad Bhagavatam Puranamamalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsamekam Amalam Gyanam Padam Giyate Tatra Gyanavaragya Bhakti Sahitam Naiskamyam Aviskritam Tachchinvan Supatin Vicharna Paro Bhaktya Vimuchen Naraha Arto Yam Brahma Sutranam Bharatarta Vinirnaya Gayatri Vasharuposo Vedakta Paribhramita Sarva Vedeti Hasanam Sadam Sadam Samudritam Sarva Vedanta Sadam Hi Srimad Bhagavatam Ishyate Tadrasamrita Triptasya Nanyata Sadvachi Kvachit Krishna Bhakti Rasa Swarup Shri Bhagavata tate veda shastra hoite parama mahatva chari veda upanishade jata kichu hoya tara arta lanavyasa korila sanchaya jai sutre jai ruk vishaya vachana bhagavate sehiruk slokeni bandana jivira nistada lagi sutra koilo vyasa mayavadi bhashya shunile hoya sarvanasa jaho bhagavata pada vaishnavirastane ekanta shrayakaro chaitanya charane bhagavata jainamane sejavana sama tarasasta ache janme janme prabhu jama hare krishna 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 hare 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 rama 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 hare hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I want to thank everybody for taking part this morning. Ujjvala Rasiga is here, Ananta Gauranga Prabhu is here, Brinda Sundari, and Vraja Bhanita. If anybody has any comments or reflections at the end of this katha, please post them. And we want to go on a journey together today. I'm really excited. It's a really wonderful topic. So we've been speaking something about the 47th chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, known as the Bhramara-gita. And in that connection, we've been reading from this book, Mathura Meets Vrindavan, by our revered spiritual master, Srimad Govinda Maharaj. And we're going to read a little more today, but today I have some topics that I also want to speak on myself. So we're going to continue today with chapter 16. It's a very astonishing chapter. And our Guru Maharaj is reading from Srila Prabhupada's purport, Bhagavatam 10.3.31, which is kind of the foundation of this book, Mathura Meets Vrindavan. So Prabhupada writes, the form of the Lord with a flute in his hands is most attractive. And the one who is most sublimely attracted is Srimati Radharani, Radhika. Prabhupada was writing, she enjoys supremely blissful association with Krishna. Sometimes people cannot understand why Radhika's name is not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, however, Radhika can be understood from the word aradhana, which indicates that she enjoys the highest loving affairs with Krishna. End of Prabhupada's quote. In our revered spiritual master, Govinda Maharaj comments. The 47th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam describes how Krishna sent Uddhava to deliver the message of love to the gopis. Uddhava came to the gopis and at last to Radharani. Radharani was lying in her kunj, surrounded by her 8 most intimate sakhis, feeling acute pangs of separation from Krishna. Arriving there, Uddhava saw one Mahadevi lying on the ground. Sakhi anke hima vapurasana bas pani tala dhara tale sesha dasadas. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. To This is part of a song from the Harikatha Padavali. The Guru Maharaj is singing. Saki Anki Himabapu Rasana Bhasa. Her golden body, this Himabapu, is lying on the lap of her Saki. Anki means like on the lap. Saki Anki. Her tongue cannot speak anything. Rasana Bhasa. She's speechless. Her hands are restlessly moving to and fro. Panitala Dadatali Sesha Dasa Dasa. Sometimes she's rolling on the ground. Sesha Dasa Dasa. The 10 symptoms of a dying person are there. This is all mentioned in Ujjvala Nilamani. I'm not going to that end. It was as it will take another day. There are so many things to say. If I explain this verse, it will take 1 week's time. It contains so many things. Of this dasa, dasa, 10 conditions. The last condition is mityu, or death. So, just to give a comment or two about this dasa, dasa, dasa. And just by the way, our Guru Maharaj did give an extended lecture on this topic, which we're thinking to include an expanded edition of Embankment of Separation, which we're working on now. So this dasa, dasa, these are 10 symptoms. 10 dasa means situation or position to be in. There's 10 different positions, 10 conditions, which are indicative of sudura prabhas. Prabhas means separation from a distance. There's 2 types of prabhas. Dura prabhas, Rupa Goswami says, which means when Krishna goes to herd the cows in Kamyavan or something, and the gopis can't see him for a few hours. But then there's sudura prabhas, which is when Krishna goes to Mathura or Dwarka, and they don't know if they're ever going to see him again. So there's 10 different symptoms, 10 different stages of that sudura prabhas. They're known as dasa, dasa. And the last of all of them is mityu, or death. And this death is a very important part of Gaura Leela, of Radha Krishna Leela. It sounds very intolerable, very inconceivable. We'd like to speak something about that today. So I'm going to go back to reading from Mathura Meets Vrindavan. With a very feeble voice, Radharani is telling her girl companions, Saki, what shall I say? This viraha, separation from Gokul Pati, the Lord of my heart, Krishna, is so acute. Vishlesha Janma Dvara. This separation has caused a high temperature, more than 110-degree fever. And then Guru Maharaj quotes a verse from Srila Rupa Goswami's Lalita Madhav. I hope the volume is okay. It's not too loud, too crazy loud. If it is, someone can make a comment online, please. So Radharani told Lalita, Utapi puta pakatopi garala gramat apikshabano dambole api dusasa katur alamhin magna sulyad api tibra proda vishuchikani Chayato puchaya mamayan bole marman yadya binati gokula pate vishlesha janma dvara. I cannot bear suffering the fever of separation from Krishna, nor can I explain it to you. It is something like gold melting in an earthen pot. This fever produces more distress than poison. It is more piercing than Indra's thunderbolt, more sharp than a spear plunged into the heart, and more horrifying than the last stage of cholera. End of quote. A goldsmith puts pieces of gold inside a small earthen pot, places them in the blazing fire, covers them with another pot, then blows with a bellows until the heat becomes more and more intense, and finally the gold melts. Similarly, Radharani says, such heat I'm feeling, utapi putta pakato, more and more severe heat. I'm feeling heat that is greater than the heat produced from very dreadful poison. Garla gramat apikshobano. It is dusasa, more intolerable than the striking of a thunderbolt. I cannot tolerate it. It is breaking my heart at every moment. Marmanyadya binati. I cannot tolerate it. Oh, my Sakhi, my dear girl companion, I cannot tolerate it. There's no need of this body. I don't see any purpose in keeping this body. This body is useless. I want to give it up immediately. Radharani kept silent for 1 or 2 moments and then said, "Oh, death is not coming to me. I want to die, but death is not coming. There's a great obstruction to death." What is that obstruction? It is Krishna's words. He said, "I'll come back, I'll come back, I'll come back." When Akrura took Krishna in his chariot and was leaving Braj Bhumi, we were rolling on the ground and crying, "Let the wheels of the chariot roll over our bodies. Let us die." At that time, Krishna said, hey, no, don't do that. I'll come back." These words he spoke are a great obstruction. So death is not coming. What shall I do? At that time, Radharani looked up at the sky and saw a crow flying in the direction of Mathura. She called out, "Hey, crow, come here, come here. Listen to me. Are you going to Mathura? Don't go in any other direction. Just go straight to Mathura. Lord Mathurapati, Mathuranath is there. Vandanacharana, offer obeisances to that Lord of Mathura and deliver my message to him. Tell him that if a house is caught on fire, the first duty of the house master is to let the domestic animals loose. They should not be burned. Open the door and let them out first. My body is the house, and it is on fire. Viraha Agni, separation is the fire. The house is burning, burning, burning. Who has set this fire? Your Mathuranath has set fire to this house. Now, go and tell him that my prana, my life, is the animal in the house. The house is on fire, and the animal of my life cannot get out. Dagdum prana pasum siki virahabur inde mad angalaye. What is the reason it can't get out? Because the door is bolted, argala, with a very strong bolt. That strong bolt is a sargala bandhanam. Krishna's words. He said, "I will come back." The door cannot be opened and the house is on fire. Tell him he should come immediately and unbolt it. Then my life, prana pashu, will get out. This is Radharani's love. There is no such thing in Rukmini's love. Out of fun, Krishna once cut some jokes, and Rukmini became afraid. Oh, will he leave me? Radharani kept silent for some moments. Then she spoke to her girl companions. Would you like to hear what Radharani said to them? Saki hey, Jamuna tatini kule kele kadambera mule more loye chala lotwarai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Anti mera bandhu hoy, Jamuna mutika loy, Saki mora lipa sarvagai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shama nama tadupadi, Lika sabha sahachari, Tosi manjari diyotai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Ram Ram. Amare Vishtana Kori Bolo Sabe Hare Hare Jakana Parana Bahiraya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Saki Hey. Radharani said, immediately, take me to the bank of the Jamuna, as she is very dear to me. Put me underneath a Keli Kadamba tree there on the bank. They are my best friends now at the end of my life. Take some mud from the Jamuna and smear it all over my body. And in that Jamuna mud, write Sham, 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 Sham. Take some Tulsi Manjaris and put them on those names. Then all my dear Sakhis should sit around me. And when my life is leaving, you should all chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare. This is Radharani's love. Uddhava was standing there and seeing everything. Uddhava understood, who is this? This is definitely Srimati Radharani. Many times I've heard my friend and master Krishna in his sleep uttering, Radhe, 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 Radhe. Definitely, this is that Radha. Prabhupada has written in his purport, quote, the form of the Lord with a flute in his hands is most attractive, and the one who is most sublimely attracted is Srimati Radharani, Radhika. End of quote. Kaviraj Goswami has written in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 4, 140. Ehi prema dware nitya radhika ekale amara madhurjamita ashrade sakale. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Only Radhika, by the strength of her love, Krishna says, tastes all the nectar of my sweetness. Ekali Radhika Aswade Sakali. Only Radharani is able to relish Krishna's sweetness completely. She relishes the most. Srila Prabhupada then goes on to say, quote, the one who is most sublimely attracted is Srimati Radharani, Radhika. She enjoys supremely blissful association with Krishna. Sometimes people cannot understand why Radhika's name is not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Why has Sukadev Goswami not mentioned Radharani's name? Srila Prabhupada has described, quote, actually, however, Radhika can be understood from the word aradhana, which indicates that she enjoys the highest loving affairs with Krishna, end of quote. Sukadev Goswami has given Radha's name in an indirect way, Aniya Radhito. That's from Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, chapter 30, text 28. Aradhana means one who offers inconceivable worship. The worship Radharani offers cannot be compared. I'm just checking to see if our microphone is still working okay. Sometimes, okay, good. Sukadev Goswami has also mentioned the word Kaschit in Bhagavatam 10, 29, 5. Krishna took one gopi, Kaschit means one gopi, from the Rasa Stali and he went away. This means he took away who? Radha. Sukadev never mentioned Radha, he only said Kaschit. Why has he mentioned Kaschit? Of all the Sanskrit pronouns that could have been used by Sukadev Goswami, Kaschit emphasizes a single individual. Since there was only one, the implication is that she must have been a special one. Because only Radhika, Radharani, enjoys the highest loving affairs. Ekali radhika asvade sakali. One who completely relishes unbroken loving mellow is Kurukshetra. No one else can experience such a thing. Only Radharani completely experiences that loving mellow. Paripurna Krishna Prema Shuk. The complete relishing of Krishna Prem is only in Radharani because she is Madhanakya Mahabhava Moyi, the embodiment of Madhanakya Mahabhav, in an indirect, very nice way. Sukadev Goswami has uttered the word Kurukshetra and never uttered directly Radha. Bujibe Rashika Bhakta na Bujibe Mudha. Only Rasik Vaishnavas can understand this. Those who are Mudhas, fools, cannot understand why Sukadev Goswami has used the word Kurukshetra. Only Rasik Janas can understand it because Radha Tattva is a very deep, confidential Tattva. Common people cannot understand, so it is generally not discussed in the congregation of common people. That is one reason why Sukadev did not speak Radha's name. Another reason why Sukadev Goswami didn't speak it is because Sukadev Goswami is Radharani's parrot. The name of Radha is so dear to him. If Sukadev Goswami were to utter Radharani's name, he would become so ecstatic, his voice would become choked up, and he wouldn't be able to speak Bhagavatam. He had to speak the whole Bhagavat within 7 days. Parikshit Maharaj was greedily waiting. Sukadev Goswami is Radharani's parrot. Therefore, he did not utter the name of Radha directly. He only gave it in an indirect way. Srila Prabhupada has mentioned this here, quote, people cannot understand why Radharani's name is not mentioned. So, sometimes devotees have some difficulty understanding or relating to this point. We printed this katha, a katha that my Guru Maharaj spoke once, about how Sukadev Goswami is the parrot of Radharani. And sometime later, one senior Vaishnava, they wrote something, and they posted it online, criticizing our Guru Maharaj, saying, what is this story? And they cited Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, who told a different version about Sukadev Goswami. And they said, because Srila Sridhar Maharaj has told this other version, then this version about Sukadev Goswami being Radharani's parrot cannot be true. Let's examine this a little bit in defense of my revered spiritual master. There's a Sanskrit phrase, a Siddhantic phrase, Kalpa Bheda. Kalpa Bheda refers to when there's alternative pastimes of the same personality that have arisen in different days of creation, which are known as kalpas. So there are at least 3 different accounts about the origin of Sukadev Goswami, which come from different kalpas, or Kalpa Bheda, and they're all from authorized literatures. They're from Mahabharata, they're from Skanda Purana. The Mahabharata, in the 6th canto chapter, it's described there that in one kalpa, Sukadev Goswami appeared from the firewood at Vyasa's ashram on Mount Meru after seeing an apsara who then took the form of a shuk or parrot. So when Vyasadeva saw that apsara, he got fired up. He was attracted by her. And she took the form of a shuk or parrot. And that Sukadev appeared from firewood. And he then took the form of a parrot. In this instance, he's named after the Shuk Apsara Grihitachi. And he learns first from Brihaspati and then Vyas. And then he traverses Harivarsha, Kimpurusha Varsha, and Bharat Varsha to learn from Rajarsi Janak at Mithila. And he returns to Vyasa at Meru and achieves moksha. In that incarnation, that Kalpa Bheda, Sukadev Goswami is a Grihasta. In another Kalpa, Vyasadeva teaches Sukadev at Badrak Ashram on the bank of the Saraswati River. And this is mentioned in the Bhagavatam 218. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Adit Daivan Dvatparado Pitu Dvaipaniyad Aham. That the Sukadev Goswami said that at the end of Dwarpar Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature, Idam Bhagavatam Nama, this Bhagavatam, this Purana, Nama Puranam, which is named Bhagavatam, which is Brahma Samhitam, which is the essence of all the Vedic literatures. And I did that from my father, Dvaipayana Vyasadeva. But there's other stories about Sukadev Goswami also. In the Bhagavatam, Sukadev explains that he was born from Vyas, along with his half-brothers, Pandu, Vidura, and Dhritarashtra. That's in Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, chapter 22, text 21 to 25. This might be the same Sukadev, born at Vyasadev's Narmada River ashram, in this or perhaps another kalpa, after his half-brothers, Pandu, Vidura, and Dhritarashtra, were born from Vyas. Sukadev appeared after waiting for 12 years in the womb of Vatika. Vatika is the daughter of Jabala Rishi, and that's the wife of Srila Vyasadeva. So he waited for 12 years in her womb. Some places it said that he waited for 16 years. Quite an intense thing for a lady to go through, to have a baby in the womb for 12 or 16 years. And in this instance, it said that Krishna flew from Dwarka to reassure Sukadev, who was in the womb and he didn't want to come out. This is in the 6th canto, chapter 147 of the Skanda Purana. Krishna flew there from Dwarka to reassure the young child in the womb that it's okay, you're not going to be in Maya. And he named that Brahmavadi boy Shuk because he was prattling, speaking like a Shuk. The Skanda Purana says. Shuk means a parrot. And that narrative, because Sukadev quickly left to the forest, then Vyasa's wife requested a replacement Shuk, Sukadev, who became a Grihastha, and installed a Kailishvar Linga in that area. That's from the same canto of the Skanda Purana, the 6th canto, but from chapter 150, a few chapters later. But then there's another story which some Vaishnavas say is from a commentary on Kavi Karnapur's Ananda Vrindavan Champu. I haven't found that to this date. But this story is a story that my Guru Maharaj told, and it's a story which is a well-known story here in Sri Kshetra, Ekamrakana. It's a story of Bhubaneswar, and how this Shuk, this parrot of Radharani, was very dear to Radha. She used to have that parrot sit on her left hand, and she would tell him, Bolo Krishna Nam, Bolo Krishna Nam. And the parrot would say, Krishna, Krishna. And Radharani liked that very much. And so then she would feed pomegranate seeds to that parrot, and life was good to get pomegranate seeds from Radharani's lotus hand and to chant Krishna's name while you're sitting in Radharani's hand. Life is very good. But when Radha and Krishna left this world, they wound up their manifest pastimes. They told that Shuk, that Sri Shuk, that parrot of Radha, that you stay behind and you speak Srimad Bhagavatam. So the qualification of someone who speaks Krishna Katha is that they should want to hear Krishna Katha. And so that parrot was very unhappy. Radha and Krishna had left, and there's no Krishna Katha going on. But someone told him that there's that Lord Shiva is speaking Bhagavatam to Goddess Parvati in Bhubaneswar, the place known as Ekamrakana, which is the place of one giant mango tree or a place of a forest of mango trees. We're not really sure. And so that parrot flew there in the tree and was listening. While Parvati was hearing the Bhagavatam, she was making the sound, like a good listener does. But after some time, as Lord Shiva is speaking the Bhagavatam, it's the 2nd canto and the 3rd canto, and time according to the atom, and it's not the most exciting kind of stuff. Parvati fell asleep. But then Lord Shiva noticed that the sound, is still coming. Who's making the sound? He looked around and he saw there in the tree was a parrot, listening with big eyes and a big smile. And that parrot was making that sound so that Lord Shiva would continue speaking. Now, Lord Shiva didn't understand that this parrot was a parrot of Radha. And this Bhagavatam is a Paramahansa Sanghita. It's meant for Paramahansas. It's not like Mahabharata or other Puranas which have some mixture of karma and gyan in them. But the Bhagavatam simply speaks about Krishna praying. So Lord Shiva is thinking, who is this parrot? This is not good. I have to destroy him. And he took up his Trishula. And the parrot then, seeing that Lord Shiva is coming at him with his Trishula, his trident, decided it's probably a good time for me to leave. And he flew away. Actually, not because he was afraid, but because the Krishna Katha stopped. Because if someone hears Krishna Katha, then Shoka Moha Bhayapaha, there's no question of any fear, lamentation, or illusion. But there's no more Krishna Katha going on. So he heard that in Bhadarak Ashram, Vyasadeva was speaking to his wife Vatika. And so he flew there, and Vadika was listening to the Bhagavatam. She was astonished, with an open mouth. My grandma said like this. And that parrot entered into the mouth of Vatika, and entered into her womb, and became known as Sukadev, or the son of Vyas. And because he's the parrot of Radharani, the Bhagavatam describes Sri Shuk Uvacha. The blessed parrot, Sri means Radha, Shuk means a parrot. It also means Sukadev Goswami, or the blessed Sukadev Goswami. But another direct meaning is the parrot of Radharani spoke. And therefore, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Shiva says, Aham Vedmi Shuka Vedi Vyasa Vedi Navediva. I understand Bhagavatam. He spoke it to Parvati. Sukadev Goswami understands because he heard it from me. Vyasa Vedi Navediva. Whether Vyasa understands or not, I can't say. So this verse, very difficult verse to understand. How can we say that Vyasadeva doesn't understand Srimad Bhagavatam? It's not that he doesn't understand, but Lord Shiva is saying whether he understands or not, I don't know. Because I spoke Bhagavatam to Parvati in Bhubaneswar, and Sri Shuk, this parrot of Radharani, he heard from me. So he understands. But whether or not Vyasadeva understands or not, I can't say. He didn't hear from me personally. So in Jiva Goswami's Tattva Sandarbha, in chapter 49, Baladeva Vidyabhushan comments that there's different versions about Sukadev Goswami. It's not that there's only one version of his life. There may be many. And therefore my Guru Maharaj is saying that this is the parrot of Radharani. So this topic we have in front of us today is a very difficult topic to understand. How the Radharani was desiring death. My Guru Maharaj once said that this is the bhajan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's the desire for death. He doesn't want anything else. He wants to give up his life. And this is described in a number of different literatures. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, chapter 46, Krishna told Uddhava, Maita prayasam preste duraste gokulastriya smaryantya niga vimuyanti virahot kancha vivala. That, my dear Uddhava, I am the most cherished object of love for the gopis of Vrindavan. And when they remember me when I'm far away, they become overwhelmed with the anxiety of separation. And the next verse goes on to say, Tarantyati krichtrena praya pranan kataschana pratyagamana sandeshaya balavyo me mad atnikaha. He says to Uddhava that because I made this promise, this sandesh, that prati agamana, I'm going to return, the gopis are able to maintain their lives. Sanatana Goswami comments in Brihad Bhagavatamrita that with great difficulty the gopis kept their lives from leaving their bodies. And there were three reasons for maintaining their lives. This is Sanatana Goswami's commentary in Brihad Vaishnava Toshini on this verse that we just read. Three reasons for maintaining their lives in terms of a progression of excellence. Madatmikaha, being the strongest. Madatmika is the final reason why the gopis are staying alive. The first is Krishna's words, Maita prayasam preshte, because I'm the most cherished object of their love. This is one reason why the gopis remain alive, because they've tasted the nectar of Krishna, who's like Amrit. And when you take Amrit, you can't die. The second reason the gopis remain alive, Prajagamana Sandeshar, because of Krishna's promise that he's going to return. And the third reason is Madatmika, because they're fully dedicated to me. What does that mean? In some places our acharyas have described that the gopis, they desire to die in separation from Krishna. But then they decide, how can we die? If Krishna returns and he sees that we've died, then Krishna's going to get so much pain. So we can't tolerate that, to think that Krishna's going to get pain. So the gopis, they stay alive. So Krishna, in the 39th chapter, the 10th canto, he promised the gopis. He said, Ayasya. Ayasya. Ayasya means I'm going to return. Ayasya iti. Definitely I'm going to return. And that's keeping Radharani and the gopis alive. So this pangs of separation are very, very intense for the gopis of Vrindavan. And in separation from Krishna, they want to die. In separation from Krishna, they can't imagine how they can still be alive. And in that separation, they become mad. And in that madness, this is what's being spoken about in this 47th chapter of the 10th canto. Unmadani Radha. How Radharani's become mad. And these words are udgurna. They're rising up from her. I would like to conclude our katha today with a story that we've heard from Braj. My Guru Maharaj tells part of the story. It's found in some Leela Kirtans. Radharani, in separation from Krishna, is desiring death. And Rupa Goswami describes this in his Padyavali. Ashraykatantum avalambya vilambanana rakshami jivam avadirnayato yadishat noched vidi sakala loka hitaikakari yet kalakutam ashrijatadidam kim artam. Radharani said, if I must remain alive in this way, eternally hanging by a single thread of hope that Krishna may return, why didn't the supremely benign creator Brahma, he's so kind, he's lokahita, he's always sakala lokahita, he's always thinking of the benefit of the welfare of everyone. But why didn't he create a terrible poison then, a deadly poison, to save me, by which I can end this suffering? And Rupa Goswami in his Padyavali gives many different descriptions of the mood of Srimati Radharani and how she wants to die in separation. This is a subject matter, very important subject matter, an intrinsic subject matter in the Lita Madhav. But I want to tell the story. One day in separation from Krishna, Srimati Radharani was crying so much that she couldn't do anything. She couldn't resist Krishna's love. And she was thinking, what shall I do now? Now I have proof that I'm not chaste. Because if I was actually chaste, then I would die. But because I'm not chaste, I can't die. And not being able to die is more useless than being alive. In my situation, because I got married to someone else. Radharani got married in Bengal. They call him Ayan Ghosh. In Braj, they call him Abhimanyu. I got married, suppose, to this so-called fellow. I offered myself to Krishna, but I couldn't marry Krishna. I married someone else when I was 9 years old. So what is the use of being alive? And Radharani was crying and crying like that. And I have no chastity. If I was really chaste, then I would be able to die. I would be able to finish this suffering of separation from Krishna. Now Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Yega tam mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. That when someone approaches me, I reciprocate accordingly. So when Radharani was crying like that, Krishna could hear her crying, and he felt something has to be done about this. Just at that time, Krishna was sitting on his mother's lap, because Krishna's a great mamachari, He was drinking from the breasts of Mother Yashoda. And then all of a sudden, Krishna's eyes rolled back in his head, and he rolled off his mother's lap, and he fell on the ground unconscious. And Mother Yashoda became very, very shocked and horrified. What happened to my Gopal? What happened to my Kanu? She saw that Krishna's laying there lifeless. There's no sign of consciousness. It like Krishna had become poison. Huh? And Yashoda's thinking, he's drinking my milk? Was there some poison in my breast? Now my son is dead. What can I do? And she starts crying and wailing and wailing. And everyone started coming. Nanda Maharaj is coming. Everyone comes running. Is there a doctor? Is there a doctor? At that time, Krishna expanded himself in the form of an old man, a doctor. And Nanda Maharaj was running around, and he found this old man, very respectable looking old man with a stick in his hand, a big turban on his head. So Nanda Maharaj brought him, and the doctor, he took his pulse and looked at Krishna. It's himself. And the doctor said, this is very serious. He's in big trouble. But there is some possibility that he can be revived, but the cure is very, very difficult. And everybody said, what is the cure? What is the medicine to give him? Tell us. We'll give anything to cure Krishna. So the doctor said, I need only one thing. But that thing, I don't know. It may be possible here, because the ladies in Vrindavan are very, very chaste. I need a chaste lady who can carry a clay pot that has 1,000 holes in it. And that lady should fill it up with water from the Jamuna. And if that lady is actually chaste, then none of the water will come out of the pot. And when I sprinkle that water on Krishna, Krishna will come back to his senses and he'll be cured. He's not going to be cured by any ordinary medicine. No allopathic, no Ayurvedic, no homeopathic. So when she heard that, Mother Yashoda said, yes, I'll go get the water right now. And the doctor said, no, you can't go. Because if the mother applies the medicine, then the medicine won't work. So many other ladies of Braj, they said, I'll go, I'll do it. But they all failed. As soon as they pulled the water out of the river, then immediately it all came out of the pot. 1,000 holes. So the ladies were very ashamed. And they covered their faces. They became a little shy. And they went away. And then at that time, the doctor said, I've heard that in Vrindavan there are two very chaste ladies who are always speaking about their chastity and always bragging to everyone how supremely chaste they are. Mother Yashoda said, well, who are those ladies? He said, their names are Jatila and Kutila. So Mother Yashoda, hearing that, she personally went to their house and said, Jatila, you know what happened. Please come to my rescue. The doctor said that only you are so chaste. Only you can save my Kanu. Jatila became very proud at that time. She said, yes. The doctor, he's a good doctor. He really knows. We're the only really chaste ladies in Vrindavan. Everyone else is unchaste. I'll go to get that water. And then Kutila said, Mother, let me go get the water. You don't have to go to the trouble. I'm a very chaste lady. I'll go get the water. So Kutila went there. She filled up the pot with water, and immediately all the water came out. She tried it 3 times, once, twice, 3 times, and it all came out, and she became very upset. And Jatila, she became ashamed. Jatila became very angry. She said, you're not a good daughter. You're not worthy to be my daughter. You're unchaste. You're a disgrace to me and our whole family. Get out from here. Better you go kill yourself. Drown yourself in the Jamuna. I'll go personally, and I'll bring the water. Why only 1,000 holes in the pot? Let there be 1,000,000 holes in the pot. I'll bring it. Jatila is so proud like that. And so she went, and she filled up the pot of water, and immediately she put it on her head, and all the water came out. And Jatila became soaking wet. And then Jatila became even more angry. She said, Yashoda, how can you believe that anyone can carry a pot with so many holes in it? It's not possible. Huh? What are you doing? And then the doctor said, so, this was my last hope. I heard that Jatila and Kutila were so chaste. But now you can also see they have no good character. They're so proud of their character. They're always bragging about their character, finding fault with everyone else. They don't see the holes in themselves. They find big holes in others. So what to do? Well, Mother Yashoda, I don't know what to do with your son. Unless we get a really chaste lady, we can't revive your son. Mother Yashoda started crying.